General Hospital will reveal Drew was once the son Monica loved and accepted when his life had lost all direction. She took him in not out of obligation, but out of genuine affection and hope that her guidance and unconditional support would help him rise above his past and become a man of honor, a true Quartermain in spirit, if not by blood. Monica gave him a home, a name, a family, and most importantly, a second chance. But over time, that second chance turned into betrayal. Slowly, and then all at once, Drew crossed every line she had hoped he would never approach. The man she once called her son transformed into a figure consumed by resentment, arrogance, and a thirst for vengeance so deep, it defied comprehension. After a string of unforgivable actions, Monica was forced to make a heartbreaking decision, to cast Drew out of the family. It was a decision forged in grief, not hatred. But instead of awakening any sense of remorse, the rejection only fueled Drew's descent. No longer tied to the family name, he made it clear to anyone who asked that he no longer considered himself a Quartermain. He discarded the name as though it meant nothing, dismissing the legacy and sacrifices that had built it. To Drew, his actions were justified. In his mind, the ends excused the means, and the pain he inflicted was nothing more than a necessary part of a greater plan, a delusion that only grew stronger with time. He buried his conscience beneath his relationship with Willow, a connection that, instead of grounding him, only seemed to enable his detachment from reality. He desecrated the Quartermain family crypt, showing no respect for the final resting place of Edward, Lila, Alan, AJ, Emily, not even his own son, Oscar. Drew's alliance with the morally bankrupt Sidwell cemented his path. Together, they built a network of influence and manipulation that stretched deep into the heart of Port Charles. What Drew once lacked in conviction, he now possessed in cruel resolve. But the cruelest blow came when he turned his wrath against Monica's legacy, the newly established Dr. Monica Quartermain Cardiac Center. Meant to symbolize decades of selfless dedication to medicine and community, the center was Monica's life's work made manifest. It was a sanctuary for healing, a place of compassion and excellence. And Drew chose to destroy it. In the shadows of backroom deals and political maneuvering, Drew orchestrated a campaign of sabotage. He blocked permits, redirected funding, and leveraged his influence to push donors away. He corrupted internal operations through underhanded partnerships, causing patient care to suffer, surgeries to be postponed, and trust in the institution to falter. What Monica had built over a lifetime, Drew sought to dismantle in months. His goal was not simply destruction, it was humiliation. To make Monica watch as her dream crumbled, piece by piece, under the weight of betrayal she had nurtured with love. For Drew, every step he took further into darkness was a declaration: he was no longer the man Monica raised, nor the father who once grieved for his son. He had become someone else entirely, a creature of vengeance, molded by resentment and self-righteousness. The people of Port Charles watched in disbelief, uncertain of how far Drew would go. But Monica knew. Deep down, she had always feared that her love might not be enough to save him. And now, she was witnessing the terrible truth: the man she had once called son was now the architect of her ruin. Drew did not merely threaten Monica's reputation, he deliberately set out to destroy the very institution that bore her name and legacy. What began as veiled political maneuvering quickly spiraled into a full-scale campaign of sabotage against the Dr. Monica Quartermain Cardiac Center. This center, meant to be a beacon of healing and compassion, was transformed into a battlefield of suspicion, chaos, and calculated malice, all orchestrated by the very man Monica once called her son. Beneath the carefully crafted image of a rising political figure, calm, articulate, and seemingly focused on public service, was a soul corroded by bitterness and obsession. Drew used his charm and influence to infiltrate the inner workings of the hospital administration, subtly manipulating department heads and board members, bending their decisions to serve his destructive agenda. He pressured key donors with threats and false information, forcing several to withdraw their support and leaving the center financially unstable. Behind closed doors, he spread damaging rumors about mismanagement, inflating minor incidents into public scandals that tainted the hospital's credibility. His tactics grew increasingly sinister. In a move that crossed all ethical lines, Drew hired individuals to infiltrate the hospital under false pretenses. These operatives sabotaged the center's electrical systems, causing power disruptions in critical care units. Medical files were mysteriously deleted or altered, leading to postponed surgeries and procedural errors. Patients began to lose trust, and within weeks, the once respected institution found itself at the center of a media storm. News outlets questioned its safety, community members voiced outrage, and Monica was forced to defend her life's work against an onslaught of accusations that originated from within her own circle, planted and cultivated by Drew himself. What made Drew's betrayal so chilling was the cold calculation behind it. Every move he made was purposeful, not out of blind rage, but out of a deep, methodical desire to make Monica suffer, to force her to feel the very rejection and humiliation he claimed to have endured. For him, dismantling her career was not merely a byproduct of revenge, it was the revenge. Watching Monica scramble to save the center she had poured her soul into brought him a twisted sense of vindication. The Cardiac Center, once a testament to hope, innovation, and community service, began to crumble under the weight of Drew's vengeance. Internally, staff morale plummeted as fingers pointed in every direction. Departments that once worked in harmony now operated in a state of mistrust. Some doctors resigned, fearing reputational damage. Patients were rerouted to other facilities. And through it all, Drew watched, emotionless, detached, as the empire of healing Monica had built slowly fell apart. In his mind, this was justice. In reality, it was one of the cruelest betrayals Port Charles had ever witnessed. Drew didn't just turn his back on the woman who raised him, he took aim at the very essence of who she was, the legacy she had spent a lifetime constructing. What he destroyed wasn't just a building. It was Monica's purpose, her pride, and her enduring belief that love could transform even the most wounded soul. Jason, a man defined by loyalty and quiet strength, had always held a deep respect for Monica, not just as a mother figure, but as a symbol of everything the Quartermaine name could and should stand for. He knew better than anyone the sacrifices Monica had made for the family, the way she had poured her life into preserving a legacy built on healing, compassion, and endurance. While others faltered, Monica stood firm, through loss, betrayal, and heartbreak. And for years, Jason had watched, often silently, as Drew strayed further and further from the values Monica had instilled in him. At first, Jason tried to give Drew the benefit of the doubt. Even as Drew's actions became increasingly questionable, Jason remained patient, hoping that the man his mother had once embraced could still find his way back. But that hope died the moment Drew's twisted vendetta reached the heart of Monica's life's work, the Cardiac Center. When Jason saw the name, Dr. Monica Quartermaine, dragged through the mud, when he watched Monica's face twist in pain as the institution she had lovingly built was torn apart by scandal and suspicion, something within him snapped. Jason didn't confront Drew immediately. Instead, he went to work in the shadows, methodically and relentlessly, gathering evidence, not just of Drew's sabotage of the medical center, but of his far more unforgivable transgression, the desecration of the Quartermaine family crypt. What Drew had done to the resting place of Edward, Lila, Alan, AJ, and Emily was sacrilege enough. But the inclusion of Oscar, Drew's own son, made it monstrous. Jason could hardly fathom how someone who once wept over Oscar's death could now reduce his burial site to a pawn in a political power play. That one act solidified what Jason had come to fear. Drew was no longer just misguided. He had lost his soul. Jason pored through digital records, tracked financial trails, and quietly interviewed former donors, hospital administrators, and even disgruntled staff members. He uncovered Drew's fingerprints on every layer of the sabotage, from the leaked false reports to the backdoor deals with Sidwell, and even the hired operatives who tampered with hospital systems. Every piece of information he found painted a damning portrait of a man who had deliberately chosen betrayal over redemption. But for Jason, this wasn't just about justice for Monica or retribution for the Quartermaine name. This was personal. The desecration of the crypt struck at the core of Jason's deeply buried emotions, especially concerning Oscar, who had found a way to touch Jason's guarded heart. The idea that Drew had weaponized the memory of his own son to spite Tracy and the rest of the family was not only heartbreaking, it was unthinkable. It crossed a moral line that Jason could never tolerate. Driven by a mixture of grief, anger, and an unwavering sense of duty, Jason began planning Drew's downfall. He wasn't looking for revenge in the traditional sense. He didn't want to destroy Drew out of rage. What Jason wanted was exposure. He wanted everyone to see who Drew had become. He wanted the public, the donors, the hospital board, and the citizens of Port Charles to know the truth. He wanted Monica to see justice done, not through violence or vengeance, but through truth and consequence. Jason understood that true justice wasn't always swift. It was deliberate. Precise. And when the moment came, when all the evidence was aligned, Jason would make sure that Drew would be forced to face the wreckage he had created, the damage he inflicted not only on institutions and reputations, but on memories, graves, and the hearts of those who once loved him. For Jason, this was no longer about family ties. This was about right and wrong. And Drew, in all his cold calculation, had chosen the wrong side. While Drew continued to cloak his schemes in layers of political charm and calculated evasion, Jason was quietly constructing the perfect trap, not out of vengeance, but out of duty, justice, and a burning need to protect what remained of Monica's legacy. Jason had learned long ago that justice does not always come from courtrooms or verdicts. For someone like Drew, whose crimes were hidden beneath layers of public image and whispered alliances, true justice had to be crafted in silence and delivered with precision. Jason knew Drew's greatest weakness wasn't guilt or shame, those emotions no longer held any sway over him. Instead, Drew clung to power, influence, and the illusion of control. His reputation had become his armor, his ability to manipulate and bend people to his will had become his currency. So Jason didn't aim for Drew's body, he aimed for everything Drew valued. One by one, Jason targeted the pillars that propped up Drew's fragile empire. He exposed Drew's backdoor dealings with Sidwell through discreet leaks to select reporters with no loyalty to the political elite. He traced the anonymous donations that vanished mysteriously from the Cardiac Center's funding to shell corporations linked directly to Drew. He collaborated with internal hospital staff who had grown weary of the chaos, collecting testimony from whistleblowers who had seen firsthand the sabotage, the falsified reports, and the deliberate power outages. Every piece of evidence, every voice, every document was carefully curated and timed for maximum impact. When the time came to strike, Jason didn't hold a press conference or stage a dramatic confrontation. Instead, he unleashed the truth in waves. Articles began appearing in reputable medical journals and local newspapers. Anonymous accounts surfaced online from donors and patients. Hospital board members were blindsided by proof of corruption. The carefully constructed facade Drew had spent months, even years, building, began to crack and crumble in real time. Within days, Drew's name went from being whispered with respect to being spat out with disdain. But Jason wasn't finished. He made sure the public was reminded of Drew's past, not the sanitized version Drew promoted, but the raw, painful reality. The desecration of the Quartermain family crypt, the symbolic and literal destruction of his own son's final resting place, was made known. Photos, statements, and even archived footage from the construction site were circulated, sparking outrage not only in Port Charles but across the medical and political communities. People were horrified by the idea that a father could sacrifice his own child's memory for political leverage. In those moments, Drew's world collapsed around him. Sponsors pulled out. Endorsements were revoked. Political allies turned their backs. The man once poised to reshape Port Charles became a cautionary tale overnight, not because he failed, but because he betrayed the very people who believed in him. And most of all, because he betrayed the woman who once gave him everything. Jason never gloated, never once sought the spotlight. His satisfaction didn't come from Drew's ruin, but from knowing that Monica's name would not be sullied without consequence. That her pain would not be in vain. That the truth, no matter how long buried, had found its way to light. In the final hours of Drew's fall, as he stood surrounded by shattered dreams and irreversible disgrace, there was a moment of clarity, fleeting, perhaps, but undeniable. A realization that revenge had not healed him. That power had not saved him. That the person he sought to destroy had once given him the very things he now lacked: love, purpose, redemption. And in that hollow silence, Drew faced the bitter truth. That when you turn on the one who once called you family, there is no victory. Only loss. Stay tuned for the next explosive chapters in the escalating war between Drew and Monica, a deeply personal and emotionally charged conflict that has shattered all illusions of family, loyalty, and redemption. This is no longer just a disagreement between a mother and her son, nor a simple tale of betrayal. It has evolved into a full-blown war for legacy, identity, and justice. Monica, heartbroken but unyielding, is rising from the devastation with a renewed sense of purpose. She is no longer just the grieving mother watching her life's work crumble. She is now a force of reckoning, determined to reclaim the honor of the Quartermaine name and protect what remains of her family from the rot that Drew has brought into their midst. Meanwhile, Drew, consumed by his lust for control and blinded by his obsession with vengeance, refuses to back down. The more his world unravels, the more desperate and dangerous he becomes. As the public turns against him, as whispers become accusations and accusations become headlines, Drew digs in deeper, willing to take down anyone who stands in his way, even if that means severing the last fragile thread that connects him to his humanity. His descent is no longer tragic, it is terrifying. But the war is far from over. Jason, now armed with truth and clarity, stands between the past and the future. He knows that Monica's salvation may come at the cost of Drew's complete downfall, and he is prepared to do what must be done. Friends will be divided. Secrets will be unearthed. Allies may become enemies, and blood ties will be tested in ways Port Charles has never seen before. And yet, is there still a spark of redemption left within Drew? Can Monica reach the broken soul she once called son? Or has he already crossed the point of no return? One thing is certain. The battle between Monica and Drew is only beginning. And in this war, the stakes are nothing less than legacy, love, and the soul of a family. Don't miss what comes next, because the most shocking moments are still to come.